Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Taurus and relationships. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing off is, well, as far as Taurus and relationships go, going to the first house, well, the first house generally will represent the paternal, grandmother, and maternal grandfather. Now, these could be people that could be have a sun, moon, or ascendant in Taurus, or simply be people that may embody Taurus-like characteristics. People that may be somewhat obstinate, stubborn, unyielding, but yet steady, stolid, persistent, and have great powers of perseverance. Now, it also could be people that might be in a Taurus-like profession, such as banking, being a stockbroker, working in finance, cultivating, doing some, maybe it's just some profession in general. It might be connected with art, something that may be really a money profession, something that deals with values, such as like a pawnbroker, value of things. So anyway, and the relationship with these people can be one that's very loyal and steadfast, and where you show very good powers of persistence as well, and one where it could be very steady and consistent. So anyway, well, the next thing up is the third house. Now, the third house in astrology represents siblings and cousins. And Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer, often falls on the third house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Taurus. So the thing is, you may have a sibling or cousin that may have a sun, moon, or ascendant in Cancer, or simply embody Cancerian-like characteristics. It could be people that are very nurturing but yet moody, temperamental, ones that reminisce a lot, ones that have a very strong emotional side and energy, could be sensitive to ridicule and criticism, but very nostalgic as well, and maybe people that are very like homebodies and introverted. Now it's interesting. I actually have no siblings, but I have one cousin that has the sun in Cancer, and I have the another one that has a Cancer ascendant, and I have Cancer on my third house cusp. And of course, many of you may know I have Taurus rising. Now, the relationship with them, as far as that goes, you could be very protective of them. They may be with you as well, and ones where you give a lot, maybe certain emotional support, and really and very sympathetic toward their needs, and they may be the same to you as well, but they could be somewhat sensitive to what maybe things you say to them, and vice versa as well. So anyway, well, the next thing up is, as far as relationships go for Taurus. Well, the fourth house in astrology can represent the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. Now, the thing about this is, now the mother or less dominant parent may be someone that has a Leo, sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply someone that embodies Leo-like characteristics. It could be someone that's rather flamboyant, entertaining, extroverted, gregarious, somebody that's very showy and attention-seeking, and maybe in some cases maybe very overly domineering, and might want to be the dominant person at home as well. But I think when the person that actually has this, in my case, I have Leo on the fourth house cusp in my natal chart. And I think there was always a side that, even though I'm very passive in a lot of ways and peaceful, having a Taurus ascendant, but the thing about it is, I think at home I always wanted to be like that dominant person. I think that has something to do with that. In some cases, it could represent someone. Leo is about dominance, so it could be somebody that winds up just being that single child and has no siblings. And I have no siblings. I also have Mars in the third house, which of course that could be adversarial towards siblings. So that's another indicator. Also, the ruler of the 12th house of restrictions in my third house. So I think that might have a little to do with it as well. But going back to Taurus and Leo often being on the fourth house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, another thing is that As far as the loyalty goes, I mean, as far as the connection with this dominant parent, which I'm sorry, less dominant parent, which is often the mother, uh, it can be one where you show a lot of strong loyalty and where you give of yourself generously to the person and vice versa, where you might wind up maybe showing support, maybe through extravagant gifts and being very generous of your time with that person. One when you stand up for and show a lot of courage and fortitude as well, and the person may often do the same for you. So anyway, well, the next thing up is, well, as far as Taurus and relationships go, the fifth house. The fifth house is represents children and also that romantic and love partner, love relationships. So anyway, well, it could be, I mean, Virgo often falls on the fifth house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus. So the person, children and or love a romantic relationship, person that you're in a romantic relationship with may have a Virgo sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply be somebody that embodies Virgo-like characteristics. It could be someone that might be rather persnickety, fastidious, you're very judgmental and critical, but very punctilious with details. And this could be somebody that you might maybe pick on a little bit or vice versa, and be very particular about as far as this goes. Now, this also, I mean, looking at this as well, this could be as far as the relationship goes. As I stated before, it could be one when one is very particular with the other and maybe very somewhat judgmental and critical, but maybe very conscious of each other's health, I think, as well. The children for you and the romantic partner for you, and vice versa. And where you really probably, I mean, with Virgo often being on the fifth house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, it's one where you're not probably overly demonstrative with that person publicly, and really vice versa. You like to maybe show those affections more privately, because Virgo, of course, is a shy sign. So you understand what I'm getting at. So anyway, and this also could be somebody that might be in a Virgo-like profession, such as something with a child or a romantic partner might be in a Virgo-like profession, such as something with analytics or statistics, someone dealing with extrapolation of data. I mean, it could be something like dealing with fantasy football, projecting stats, doing something that has to do with a lot of data or attention to detail, such as detailing on vehicles, or computer programming, data entry. That could be dealing with a lot of detail-oriented work and having to be very prudent with that. Anyway, the next thing up is, well, the sixth house in astrology, I mean, generally will be it's not just your work relationship, or relationships, I should say, but also the siblings of the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. So aunt and uncles, could be an aunt and uncles. So the thing about this is, this could be somebody that may have a Libra sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply be someone that embodies Libra-like characteristics, people that can be very diplomatic, charming, refined, cultured, people that are strongly about reconciliation, that are very about being equitable, about being very fair-minded, and people also that abhor injustice. What's interesting is I have Libra on my sixth house cusp in my natal chart, and my aunt, which is on my mother's side, has a sun in Libra, and it's very close proximity, very close to my sixth house cusp. I thought that's very interesting. If I'm not mistaken, her moon is in Aquarius. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it was on the might have been near the cusp of Capricorn Aquarius, but I'm leaning toward an Aquarius moon, and I have Uranus almost exactly conjunct my 6th house cusp. So I think that's interesting as well. And of course, Uranus is one of the planets that do rule Aquarius. Very interesting. Anyway, going back to Libra being often on the 6th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, well, another thing too is that this could be one or more of these people, this aunt or uncle on your generally your mother's side, the less dominant parent side, which is often the mother's side. Then it could be somebody that might be in a Libra-like profession, such as working as an arbitrator, negotiator, judge, attorney, bailiff, anything connected with the law, someone that deals with negotiation, somebody that might be in some art field as well. And the thing is, too, you may also be, as far as your connection with them and the relationship you have with them, it's one where you really have a lot of fairness and equality, and really where maybe you're very diplomatic and tactful with these people and vice versa. And that being said, thing about it is where Libra falls in the chart, seems like where one can be somewhat complacent and you get kind of self-satisfied and you don't want to make waves. So it could be something where even if even if one of these people, an aunt or uncle, might be doing something that might bother you, and it might be hard to actually express this toward them, and it might be the same way as far as them being limited in expressing things toward you that might be exasperating them. So anyway, well, the thing is too, the next thing up is, well, Scorpio will fall on the 7th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Taurus, and this represents the significant other marriage partner, but it could also be about the maternal grandmother and paternal grandfather. And one or more of these people might be a Scorpio sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply someone that embodies Scorpio-like characteristics. Could be somebody that's very powerful, intense, resourceful, passionate, very transforming, but negatively even somewhat manipulative, surreptitious, and even vindictive in some cases. Now, it's interesting, of course, I have Scorpio on the 7th house cusp in my natal chart because I have Taurus rising, so that's automatic. But my father's father has a Scorpio sun. Thought that was his sun sign was in Scorpio. I thought that's very interesting. So in other words, that's the grandfather on my father's side. So anyway, well, and also my grandmother on my mother's side, as I stated before, this is often about the maternal grandmother. She has a Scorpio ascendant. Imagine that, right? I joke with people. I say, people can prevaricate and lie, but astrology, I think, very seldomly does. So anyway, well, then the thing going back to Scorpio being on the 7th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, and how it works with relationships for them. Another thing too is that one or more of these people represented by Scorpio on the 7th house cusp, they could be in a Scorpio-like profession, could be somebody that is in psychology or psychiatry, doing something with the occult, supernatural, astrology, alchemy, magic, maybe locksmithing even, doing something with forensics, some kind of investigation or something that may involve deep research as well. So anyway, and also too, as far as the relationships go with people connected with this placement, well, it could be, that the relationships might be ones that are very powerful, intense, but at times can be destructive as well, and ones where you might have even power struggles with these people to some degree as well, where where they're very intense, but they can be transforming, and it could be ones that go very deep and go beyond the superficial. And really, I think when you have where Scorpio is placed in the chart, it could be the spot where it's hard to deceive others, and ones that can call you out on prevarication and deception, because Scorpio energy is really going beyond subterfuge. And I mean, one time I remember calling my grandmother up, and I said, the one I told you before, Scorpio rising, and I was disguising my voice, and I tried to, pretend I was someone else. She says, Eddie, you don't fool me. I know it's you. So anyway, next thing up as well, the eighth house in astrology represents the intimate, someone you may be in an intimate or sexual relationship with. And Sagittarius often falls on the eighth house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Taurus. So that person can be someone that has a Sagittarius sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply someone that embodies Sagittarius-like characteristics. It could be someone that's very, people that are very blunt, buoyant, expansive, optimistic, philosophical, people that have much exuberance and enthusiasm, but could be very blunt, straightforward, and very direct, hitting you with those harsh arrows of Sagittarius-like truth, giving you that veritable, should say the harsh figurative arrows of Sagittarius-like truth, giving you the veritable truth. And also, they can be people that are blunt to the point where they may even demoralize you. But at the same time, the thing about this is, interestingly enough, going to, as far as these people may go, that sexual partner, the one you may be in an intimate relationship with, they also, one or more of these people may be in a Sagittarius-like profession. Could be somebody that is an adventurer, explorer, in some kind of travel field, such as a pilot or travel agent, in theology maybe, philosophy, doing some working as a professor in at a college, university, perhaps somebody in publishing. So those are and maybe even in sports as well. So, but as far as the relationship goes, with these with this person as well, and how it is, as far as how you interact with them and they interact with you, as I stated before, could be a lot about speaking that veritable Sagittarius like truth, and ones where you're very outspoken and blunt and forthright, but at the same time being able to joke with each other and express a lot of jocularity, may even play some practical jokes on each other. So anyway, well, the next thing up is, well, the ninth house in astrology represents in-laws and grandchildren, and Capricorn will often fall on the ninth house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Taurus. This could indicate that in-laws or grandchildren, one or more, may have a Capricorn sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply be somebody that embodies Capricorn-like characteristics. It could be someone that could be somewhat melancholy, but yet very serious, single-minded, very consistent. One that's very orthodox and conventional, and generally doesn't incline to go outside the box, so to speak, as somebody that might be very responsible and mature for their age. But for Taurus, often, because as I stated before, Capricorn does often fall on the ninth house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus. Well, for Taurus, it could be that those there might be some limitations and restrictions with these people as well, because Capricorn, of course, is ruled by Saturn, and it can be about restrictions and limitations. And of course, I have no grandchildren, because I don't even have any children. So anyway, you can understand why there would be some restrictions as far as that goes. So anyway, and one or more of these people might be involved in a Capricorn-like profession, such as business, working as a landlord, somebody in a position of authority, even information, someone in information technology, a person that might be in some kind of business or doing some kind of government or political work. Anyway, Also, too, as far as the relationship goes with these people, the in-laws and grandchildren, if applicable, well, as I stated before, they might be restricted to some degree for one thing, but they're ones that could be very serious and maybe where you converse about a lot of serious issues. It could be matters pertaining to politics, to government as well, but one that could be very, even though, I mean, you might have certain restrictions, but it might be one that's very consistent as well, and one where you don't really necessarily express a lot of jocularity. It's one that is one, as I stated before, very, and really it's a very serious connection with these people. So, and one where you might show certain responsibility, strong responsibility for each other. So anyway, well, next thing up is, as far as the 10th house goes, this is the dominant parent, which is often the father. Now, Aquarius often falls on the 10th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Taurus. So the dominant parent, often the father, may be in Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply somebody that embodies Aquarius-like characteristics. It could be a person that you may see as rather eccentric, might even be innovative, unique, aloof, detached, have humanitarian instincts, somebody that's very selfless, a person that's unobtrusive, and maybe even unorthodox or unconventional in some way, shape, or form. Now, it may also be a person that might be in an Aquarius like profession. It could be somebody that might be an innovator, somebody that's in an esoteric subject such as astrology. It could be someone in aeronautics, astronomy, aerospace, computers, or electronics even, or working as an electrician, something that could be Aquarius-like. Now, as far as the relationship and connection goes with this person, this could be one where a lot of selflessness is shown, and you may actually see that dominant parent, often the father, as someone that is more of like a friend than it is a relative, and one, as I stated before, you might should give a lot of selfless giving and vice versa, and where you're just really where you both show, really very amiable side and maybe talk about a lot of things that are, as far as original ideas go. So, because Aquarius energy, of course, is very innovative, but it might be where you might feel the connection. You might see the person, the dominant parent, often the father, being a little bit detached, and where you might feel that he or she is kind of keeping distance from you. So anyway, well, the next thing up is well, the 11th house in astrology, as far as relationships go, can represent friends and stepchildren. Now, friends and or stepchildren, I mean one or more. If you have any stepchildren, that is, uh, may actually be an Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply, I'm sorry, Pisces. Well, Pisces, I'm sorry, on the 11th house cusp, often for Taurus in a solar natal chart, Pisces will often fall on it. So this could be a stepchild or friend that may have, if you have any stepchildren, this, if applicable, may have a Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply be someone that may embody Pisces-like characteristics. It could be someone that could be very passive, maybe even malleable, overly idealistic, maybe maybe very compassionate, someone about self-sacrifice, a person that really may like to withdraw a lot and really be enamored with maybe their isolation and seclusion and solitude. Maybe people that are very imaginative. The thing about this as well, this could be also one or more of these people may be involved a Pisces-like profession. It could be someone in the metaphysical, which includes astrology, a person that may be involved in spirituality, maybe even someone in photography, chemistry, someone doing pharmaceutical work, somebody that works with maybe some kind of illusion, such as working as a magician or in special effects. Now, although keep in mind that wherever Pisces is in a chart is that area where you tend, I mean, not necessarily completely be oblivious to, but where you try to overlook their transgressions. And when I mean, I have in my chart, I actually, I mean, when I mean Taurus people, I mean, often have Pisces on the 11th house cusp in their solar natal chart. Mine is actually in. I mean, I actually have Aquarius on my 11th house cusp, but I have Pisces intercepted. So I think it's harder for me to kind of see any the deception and illusion that's connected with my friends in my life, and it makes it a little easier for me to be duped by them. And I think if somebody, you know, when you're talking about in a lot of cases though, when Pisces, I mean, falls on the 11th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, this is where they could be somewhat the area where they could be deceived by their friends and maybe even stepchildren if they have them. They could be duped somewhat easier, and they tend to overlook the transgressions of those people as well. And anyway, but as far as the relationship goes with these people being Pisces, being often on the 11th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus, this could be one where a lot of you express maybe a lot of self-sacrifice. The friends and stepchildren may do so as well, but one where you can really also express very strong, all-encompassing like emotion as well, and ones where you know, you might be a little bit touchy, I think, as well, and really, but we should express a lot of compassion at the same time. And anyway, well, the next thing up, last but not least, uh, the 12th house cusp in astrology, as far as relationships go, often will represent the paternal aunt or uncle, or aunt and uncle, I should say. So I mean, it's the siblings of the generally the siblings of the dominant parent, which is often the father. Now, Aries often falls on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Taurus. So these people, the siblings of your dominant parent, which is often the father, the aunt or uncle or both, may have an Aries sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply embody Aries-like characteristics. They could be people that are somewhat abrupt, outspoken, brusque, assertive, aggressive, about taking initiative, but the situation with them might be somewhat contentious and combative, even acrimonious at times. Now, the thing too is it could also be where one or more of these people, you know, if you have, depending on how many siblings that person may have, the dominant parent has, if any, they can, I mean, one or more of these people might be in an Aries-like profession. It could be firefighting, arson investigation, doing something with law enforcement, working with something with guns, maybe dealing, maybe as a gunsmith, a soldier, somebody in the military. So anyway, but another thing about this is that these, as far as your connection with with these one or more of these people may go, it could be one where you're very forthright, very outspoken, and vice versa as well, where you're really not mincing words and then, you know, with each other, and ones where you can be somewhat confrontational with, but at the same time you might be willing to stand up for these people very strongly, and they may be able to do the same for you. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Taurus relationships. And stay tuned next time where I will be talking about Gemini relationships. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.